soft copy. And that is exactly what this connotes. We are looking at the front end, but in most cases, we are weak at the back end. Infrastructure is the layer on which the benefits on the front end can be enjoyed, like broadband connectivity, network coverage, security measures, and a whole lot of stuff. So I will be giving a little bit of statistics shortly before the lead paper presentation of what I know. When I was trying to do a bit of research on this topic, I said the first thing is to look at the statistics. And I went to NCC website to look at the statistics. The first thing is, what's the contribution of telecom to the GDP today? How important is this sector to our GDP? Percent as the contribution. I think after agriculture, that is the next sector we need to point. And from what I have heard from some of the keynote speakers, he has the ability to do more. We can get to 20. So we have not even started driving this sector. What is the penetration today? Broadband penetration is at 47%. It's not even up to 50. If at 47% broadband penetration, we can be doing 16.06% contribution to GDP. I think there is a lot of potential in this sector. I will be introducing the lead presenter, Mr. Chidi Ajuzi, to see if we can look at this and explore this topic for us to have a background on which we start this discussion. But please sit down and relax. This is going to be a very, very interesting discussion, and I'm expecting that at the end of the day, the floor will be open for us to discuss. Thank you.
Personally, I have 3 SIMs right here. I have one on my iPad, I have two other phones. So in reality, if you look at both on voice penetration and data itself penetration, internet penetration, we could be looking realistically in terms of humans, not devices. Device penetration, yes, but humans could be looking around 40%. Goodness. And then on the infrastructure space, six submarine cables, 96,000 kilometers of terrestrial and submarine fiber cables in space. 21 plus data centers, many of them of course are tiered and plenty tiered ones. NCC says there are 220 million subscribers in terms of penetration, and 90 million, about 79.6 or thereabout internet users. The infrastructure is huge, the space is huge, and I'm going to tie this to how it supports e-government, or how it's critical to e-governance in itself. Now, of course, you know that if you look at the bottom left of the screen, there is so much capacity in the space available. Go next. Just one slide. The challenge is how do we move these capacities inland? So we have a challenge of Minoma, or what we call the backbone, and of course on the metro and the assets, which is where the bulk of infrastructure gaps exist, and we need to upscale on that space. Subscriber side base, MTN of course is huge, 85 million subscribers, Glo has about 61, Airtel 60, and then Mobile reports around 13 million subscribers. So essentially 220 million people have access to digital platforms, and that's where our digital enablement and e-government discussions should start from. And I'm going to also show how these numbers and how this is critical to the e-government development space. Go next, please. Then this is another ecosystem that is not the very big ecosystem, but very important ecosystem, the local ICT ecosystem that supports this whole telecom and digital space. Go next. Okay, so you can see an array of local players who are doing a lot of work in this space. They are not the very big guys, but they are actually the very interesting disruptors who are also part of this ecosystem and providing digital services to the industry. Goodness. Then I want to talk about this. This is, of course, Galaxy backbone as well, with the kind of infrastructure that is unique and can serve e-governance that it possesses. It has 2 data centers on record now, has 5,000 kilometers of fiber, has 28 states connected, and 54 cities. Challenge is that most of this infrastructure today is just basically for internet access. So there is, of course, the requirement to also upscale these capacities to become a digital service platform. Goodness. This is the 2 and 3G map of Nigeria. Now, of course, if you look at this map coverage, on the surface you can think we are all covered, but there is a whole lot of gaps still. A lot of gaps. If you go next, you see the 4G and go next. You see the 4G and fiber map of Nigeria. It gets scantier, And the key thing is that connectivity is useless unless it's meaningful, which is why even in the ITU we're not talking about meaningful connectivity, not just connectivity, but meaningful connectivity. And what is meaningful connectivity? Is connectivity that can actually create affordable access. That yes, it creates the capacities you need, but it's also affordable and it's available for it, and then that's meaningful connectivity. Go next. Next. Okay, so how does this infrastructure tie to e-government? The next frontier, I would say that the future of telecom infrastructure is hyper-connections and digital interactions. So where are the hotspots? The cloud, pervasive fiber or wireless local loop and satellite, then data centers, mobility, 4, 5G and 6G that is in the works. Then connected everything. Of course, we moved from just talking about internet of everything to the connectivity of everything. And then we'll also be looking at open access, which I know a couple of people have talked about it in this panel, during the keynote speeches. Open access and disaggregation. You're building out infrastructure where they don't have to be repeated. Someone else can come in and layer on those infrastructure and provide services. Go next. Now, as happens within mature ecosystems, what's going on in telecom, of course, is maturing and is moving to the ecosystem model. It's moving to the ecosystem model. Okay. So, of course, if the telecom infrastructure space is moving to the ecosystem model. What is the ecosystem model? Go next, please. What's the ecosystem model? You now have the telecom providers themselves. They now have netcos, companies who are providing you the infrastructures you need. Then, of course, hyperscalers are in the guys who essentially provide the platform and cloud solutions. Then, of course, you have the system integrators and user device and the software vendors. Now, the key thing is that, go next. The key thing is, go back a minute. The key thing is that e-government services will be leveraged on this entire ecosystem. And I'll show you quickly how, go next. Next as well. Okay, so this is the traditional infrastructure model where even the licensees, even the regulators are licensed. They talk about this traditional infrastructure model where you just build out the passive connection, build out the active devices, and of course, common on the layer for solutions. Now, if you lose sight of the base telecom infrastructure base, everything else that is services, whether it is e-government or digital empowerment, you lose it. And that's why telecom infrastructure is totally critical to sustenance, even development and sustenance of e-government within the ecosystem. Go next. Okay, so we'll talk about this UN, EGDI earlier. EGDI is measured on 3 composite models. They talk about the online service index, which essentially talks about your government's capability to move services online, maybe your websites and communicate to the citizens. Then there is the human capital index, which essentially talks about the citizens' capability and willingness to use government services. These are 2 things, the capability and the willingness. And then of course the big elephant in the room is the telecom infrastructure index. Now everything else that we're measuring rides on this index, because without this, the pervasive connectivity that the telecom infrastructure index provides, you are actually not going anywhere. So go next. Okay. Nigeria, of course, you talk about Nigeria's going to Nigeria did 140 in the ranking out of 193 countries. Just after Denmark, Finland, South Korea, New Zealand, Sweden, and the rest of them. Now, the interesting is that the first 10 countries in this ranking have an almost GDI of 1. So essentially, they are saying they practically digitize the entire government infrastructure. And a very interesting case is Denmark and Estonia. And that's the case study I was showing. They practically moved everything they do, every citizen engagement, every business engagement, everything, including government-owned internal business, is already moved to the cloud. Goodness. Now, how many people are aware of this site? Goodness. Okay, how people are aware of this site? This is Nigeria.gov.ng. This is our own government, official government portal. Who knows of this site? How many people have used it? You can know of this. How many people have used this site? Use this site for services. But you can see how scanty the hands are in the room. But this is our official government portal that gives you access to do the entire spectrum of government interactions. Goodness. But of course, I'm sure we've also heard of this office called Semicon.
The time is up.
2 minutes more. So we've also heard of this office called Semicon. If you look at the mandate of this office and look at the e-government issues, they are totally aligned. Now, perhaps one of the things we need to look at is how you can actually allow Semicon to use e-government tools for and also to monitor its processes. Go next. Go next as well. Okay, so quick thing, go next. So quick thing on here is how the evolution of e-government happens, the e-government roadmap. Is either you're doing your mentioned presence, which is just you coming in on board, just building out the basic infrastructure, and then enhanced presence, transactional presence, and connected presence. In our situation today, maybe 5 years ago, we were just on the mentioned presence. I think we are in between enhanced and transactional presence. And I'll tell you why. A lot of government services have moved online, but there is a big challenge. There's a challenge of giving government to employees. There are online services, but within that online service and the populace and the citizens, there is no access to those services. Some of them are for several reasons. I mean, if you go to CAC, for instance, you want to register a company and all, the portal exists and is live and is active. But there is another economic activity group that makes sure that the portal does not work. Which is why, even in UN's own measure, there is an online service in there, and there is a human capital index, which measures the willingness of the government and the promoters and the agencies to allow e-government to work. And that's one of our biggest issues, that willingness to let e-governance work. And then this is just a case study of two countries that are using e-governance and using it properly, Estonia and Singapore. Services in each of these places are mostly online and public. In fact, their e-government index is almost 1. So Singapore is around 0.8, 0.98, and then Estonia is around 0.9. So close to 1, which means they have essentially all government services online. And what is one of the things that has happened? Telecom infrastructure. They have pervasive telecom infrastructure that straddles the entire length and breadth of the country. Go next. Of course, we can use this for several services and then go next. So, takeaways for me, go next. Takeaways for me is whether it is to provide citizen engagement, smart business, smart government, digital inclusion, connected communities, and you can see there's a tie between this, what the traffic patterns. Digital traffic patterns are on, and then how broadband consumption happens in certain cities in Lagos. And this is using big data to also set up e-government models. And then the last, of course, is digital literacy. We've talked around this over and over. Until people understand how important digital literacy is, they are actually not able to layer those infrastructure and services that are required in Lagos. So that's my time. Thank you.
What exactly are we going to do differently? And my next question is going to go to Mr. Eric. I know we are going to crunch statistics too well. I'm sure if it is possible, you must be seeing our 2030. So what exactly are you thinking in terms of support on telecom deployment in Nigeria? And this question is not resonating around your support to the big fours, the MNOs. I'm talking about down the value chain. What support are you looking at to be able to aid this goal? And at the same time, what's your thoughts on the MVNO, the new MVNO idea? Thank you.
Thank you. I think, first of all, thanks for the convener to design very good question about this panel. I'm thinking over and over regarding how to position telecom infrastructure towards a prosperous e-government service development. So indeed, I noticed that many keynote speakers already mentioned about the industry evolution. Of course, I fully agree that now, whatever we like or not, whatever we stay there or we run, to keep on running or not, we must admit that now we are coming to the fourth industrial revolution, which is enabled by digital technologies. And in this area, so how to connect the government and the citizens, and how to make the government services to make our citizens happiness, satisfaction, and convenience. In China, we have old saying that if you want to get rich, you must build a road first. So, taking this example, I think for back to our panel question regarding if we take e-government development as to be richness, I think the telecom infrastructure is wrong. So in my opinion, telecom infrastructure is the key foundation to enable government services. I understand many panelists already mentioned about the benefits of the telecom infrastructure towards e-government service. We see that it's not only for the government itself, but also for the citizens. For example, to the government, it would rely on, based on our existing massive telecom infrastructure, we can save a lot of cost to the government. The government can focus on developing the platform, developing the applications which the citizens need, which the enterprise needs. They focus on streamlined operations instead of invest a lot of people to develop the infrastructure again. And for the citizens, in fact, we can find that for citizens, they can enjoy a lot of convenience, and also they can avoid much time consuming. And then, what's more, that we find that the citizens can participate more in government services.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, you have not told me what you are thinking about the MVNO business, which I think is another laudable idea to be able to enhance the existing infrastructure. What do you think about the mobile virtual network operator? The 3 million network operators, the 4 million network operators today, so I say 4.5. I think the half is not there because I couldn't even get the statistic of Nitel or Intel. I couldn't get the statistics. So I used to say 4.5 before. I think the half is finally disappeared. However, the MVNO business is a laudable business that's supposed to deploy infrastructure. What's your thought and what support are you galvanizing as an OEM, or you are thinking to be able to aid the success of MVNO?
That's a hot topic. I noticed that there was 25 MVNOs was just licensed these days, right? Not come long ago. But as a telecom infrastructure provider, in our opinion, we think there's no difference between MNO and MVNO, because all of them are operators who are provided to the service to the citizens. So, in the perspective of the user end, there's no difference. You get a SIM card, you get the tariff, and you enjoy the internet. But MVNO is quite flexible and quite largely operating, which means that they can rely on the big players based on the infrastructure. and to get provide some services, especially to some special scenario. For example, I do that. For example, maybe some migrants coming into Nigeria. For example, I'm Chinese. For example, many Chinese people are coming here, but have a tourist here or working here for very short time. So the everyone can design a specialized time design dedicated for this group person. So to let them have good roaming or international roaming between the home country and in Nigeria.
Thank you very much. I think with this we've been able to extract some idea of what NDN will look like. I would have loved to build a support strategy, but I think we don't have time. And my next question is going to go to Mr. Sekun. By late last year, in my organization, we do strategy. And with this strategy, looking at 2023, and we crunch our numbers, and we have this, what we want to deploy in terms of CapEx deployment. We are going to do X number of sites. But when the tire hit the road in January, the first thing that hit us was the fact that there's election, we could not make projection or decisions. After election and then what hit us then was subsidy. Subsidy hit us and everything changed. FX was on the flow. And today we have not been able to achieve 40% of that strategy. And I will not believe that the strategy have not been subjected to no stress tests. We have subjected it to stress tests, looking at what FX is going to look like. And I was telling somebody, a colleague not too long, that I would love to know what the number is going to look like in terms of telecom infrastructure for 2023, because I know the number is going to be bad. Nobody is building infrastructure. What exactly is the organization doing to be able to break these things in this very hard time? That's my question, number one. And number two, generally, what's your thoughts of what we can do to be able to enhance this laudable goal? Thank you.
All right, thank you, and good afternoon once again to everyone. Thank you for your question. No doubt what you have just talked about on the achievements of the plan strategy for most organizations in this particular space, particularly in the telecom sector, I would say is a reality. There are quite a lot of things that we have put in place, generally speaking, almost towards the end of last year, and anticipating some good outcome in the current year. Now, two things that you mentioned that actually happened. Of course, one was the election, and the other part was the subsidy. What we should look at is this. This sector, how is it enhancing value to individuals, the public sector, and the private sector? And we actually saw that happen during the pandemic. That despite the fact that we had a lot of challenges, there was still that need for connectivity, telecom infrastructure. So it's still about looking a bit more inwards. So one thing that the potentials are there, the business opportunities are there. The challenge we're talking about now is about how do we manage the attendance costs because of these two issues I talked about. Of course, subsidy had a direct impact on power, energy, and of course, it's actually fundamentals to our operations. You need power to run data centers, you need power to run telco sites, to power active devices. But like I said, the opportunities are there. So what can we do, or what are we doing as an organization? We've seen it as a time where the essence of collaboration is extremely important. So it's just a matter of making a decision. Do you want to go ahead to invest that CapEx? Or do you want to partner, or just say collaborate, with an existing operator that has already made that investment? Because when you put those investments in place, really, the capacity is excess at that particular time. So because you invest and then you expect returns over some years, you can partner with other competitors, either as a way for them to support you. So rather than investing in CapEx, you can begin to consider OpEx. And vice versa, you can also see it as a way to support other telcos. So in that case, you begin to see the context of what they call carriers of carriers. So that is the way in which we can actually enhance ourselves. And rather than having that huge investment in CAPEX, you can partner and reduce that exposure using OPEX.
Thank you very much. And my next question is going to go to Mr. Kimball. Caledon threw out 34,000, more than 34,000, fiber optics more than 96,000. Most of this infrastructure are in the urban area. However, more than 49% of the population of Nigeria is in the rural area. What is your perspective on this goal of e-government and how can we accommodate the rural communities? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Coordinator, the key thing for us that we can address is the power issue that you mentioned for the rural area, because most of our rural areas are without public utility, and you have to run generators 24/7. So for us to have an efficient and aggressive penetration and communication infrastructure deployment for e-government policy achievement, we need to run on renewable energy sources. So we use solar panels, we use wind turbines for some locations that have a good wind harvest. So those communities that we have in those rural areas, it's good that we deploy those other alternative sources of energy, because we are aware of the problem that we have in the country now in terms of the first substitute removal and the effect of policy change that we have in our country.
Today, my major pain is bandwidth cost that I have to pay in dollars. I would have loved that this panel would have had Nikon sites sitting, so that I would have known what the Nikon site want to do differently. Because I do the revenue I generate and what I pay on bandwidth is an improper fraction. So I am thinking, okay. It's an improper fraction today. So, Mojube, who tests that? Beyond the topic, what exactly is your perspective about the topic? And what exactly are you people doing to ameliorate this problem? Thank you.
Thank you. For us as Eutelsat, as a satellite operator, I think mainly we've been seen as a major infrastructure provider for rural telephony. So for us, for example, to